flexing that ankle.
Oh, Lee, this late in the game, you do not want to see.
Caitlin Clark is injured again, and this time, the reaction from fans has gone well beyond simple concern. It's turned into outright frustration and anger. This isn't just another minor knock or some routine, harmless bruise that players shake off. It's her second injury of the season, and depending on the severity, it could potentially sideline her for an extended period. That possibility alone has left fans on edge, worried not just about Clark's immediate future but about how much more her body can take during this grueling stretch of the season. But what's truly igniting fan outrage isn't just the injury itself, it's the overwhelming sense that this could have been completely avoided. There's a growing belief that the warning signs were there all along, flashing in plain sight for weeks, from her ongoing day-to-day status, to her public admissions about playing through lingering pain, to media reports that pointed to chronic discomfort. It's not like this injury came out of nowhere. It feels like a slow-building disaster that everyone saw coming, except the people responsible for protecting her. Many fans are now questioning the decisions made by the coaching staff, the front office, and the league as a whole. Why was Clark pushed to keep playing through obvious pain? Why wasn't she given time to rest and fully recover from her earlier injury? Why did it seem like there was more concern about ticket sales, TV ratings, and media appearances than about the long-term health of the league's brightest star? These aren't small questions. They cut to the heart of what's wrong with how the situation has been handled. For supporters who have followed Clark's journey from college phenom to WNBA superstar, this feels like an infuriating mismanagement of a generational talent. It's not just a setback, it's a preventable one. The idea that this could have been avoided is what's really fueling the anger, because now Clark may be forced into a longer recovery process, phasing time away from the game she's been fighting so hard to stay on the court for. Fans aren't just upset because their favorite player is hurt again, they're upset because they feel like the system failed her. They feel like the league let this happen, like the people tasked with protecting her were asleep at the wheel. The conversation has shifted from disappointment to outrage, because this wasn't just an accident, this was a risk that everyone could see, but no one stepped in to stop. Now, the focus turns to what comes next. How long will Clark be out? Will she finally get the time she needs to fully heal? Will the league, her team, and the people around her finally start putting her health above the relentless push for headlines and sellout crowds? One thing is certain, this injury didn't just shake fans, it woke them up, and they're making it clear that what happened here is unacceptable.
Stephanie White has now got questions to answer.
Because this isn't just about one play, it's the culmination of something that's been building all season long, from inconsistent refereeing to overly aggressive opponents, to the Indiana Fever's own baffling and reckless decisions. Caitlin Clark has not been properly protected. Not physically, not strategically, and certainly not by the very people who should understand more than anyone what she means to the game and to the future of the WNBA. The concern now stretches far beyond just Clark's current injury. It's about her long-term health, her career trajectory, and by extension, the very stability and growth of the entire league. Fans are remembering what happened the last time she missed games. Ratings tanked, ticket sales nosedived, and the electric buzz that followed the WNBA everywhere she played completely disappeared. That wasn't a minor dip, that was a harsh, immediate wake-up call, and if Clark is sidelined again, the league is staring down an even steeper, more painful version of that same reality. This moment feels like a potential tipping point. Fans are furious, especially at head coach Stephanie White, who's now at the center of the backlash. People want to know, how did this happen? How did a series of preventable, short-sighted decisions spiral into what could become one of the biggest missed opportunities in the history of professional sports? How did a league that finally had its golden moment fumble the chance to protect the very player driving its resurgence? These aren't just angry tweets, this is a fanbase demanding accountability. And the questions aren't going away.
Boston hands it off as Clark's back in. She goes down.
Oh,
And mid-court and
you don't want to
flexing
see
that
that.
ankle.
Oh, Lee, this late in the game, you do not want to.
This was the moment, during the hard-fought game against the Seattle Storm, when Caitlin Clark visibly appeared to aggravate her lingering groin injury. What looked like a routine play quickly turned into a scene of concern as Clark showed immediate signs of discomfort, subtly favoring her leg and moving with noticeable hesitation. Now, following that incident, she's officially been sidelined for an indefinite period, a development that has sent shockwaves through the fanbase and the league alike. Head coach Stephanie White has publicly labeled Clark's status as day-to-day. But let's be honest, this designation feels increasingly optimistic, maybe even deliberately downplayed. considering the history of this injury and the caution Clark herself has spoken about. In recent weeks, this doesn't look like the kind of issue that will resolve overnight, given Clark's previous admissions that this is an injury that won't fully heal this season and will need to be carefully managed. The idea that she's just a few days away from returning feels disconnected from the reality fans are watching unfold. It's starting to seem more like the team is buying time, managing optics, or trying to maintain hope in the short term, even as the situation quietly escalates in seriousness. What's painfully clear is that Clark's road back to full health is not a straight path, and whether the team is ready to admit it or not, this setback could have long-term consequences not just for Clark, but for the Fever season and the WNBA as a whole.
With Caitlin, when did you guys find out about this groin injury, and how much of an absence do you expect from her beyond today?
Yeah, late last night. I think it's very much a day-to-day thing, how she responds to treatment.
But Fever fans have been down this road before, and this time, they're simply not buying it. They've seen this play out already earlier in the season. They've heard the familiar cycle of cautious updates, the carefully worded statements from the coaching staff, the day-to-day status slapped onto injury reports as if that somehow softens the concern. They've been fed the optimistic timelines, the promises that things are progressing, and the vague reassurances that Caitlin Clark will be back soon, only to sit and watch as those short windows quietly stretch into weeks with little clarity and even fewer answers. Fans aren't new to this. They remember how her previous injury was initially framed as minor, something she would manage, something that wouldn't keep her out for long, and yet, as time passed, it became obvious that the issue was more serious than the team had let on. The hesitation in her movement, the persistent discomfort, the fact that she never quite looked fully right, it was all there. But the official messaging always seemed a step behind reality this time. The fanbase isn't accepting the surface-level narrative, they're reading between the lines. They're seeing the same patterns, the same delays, the same attempts to downplay the situation, and they're not waiting for history to repeat itself to sound the alarm. The trust has eroded. The carefully packaged updates don't hold the same weight anymore because fans have learned that day-to-day can quietly become week-to-week, and week-to-week can spiral into indefinite absences that no one saw coming except maybe the fans who were paying close attention. There's a growing frustration now, not just with the injury itself, but with the communication around it. The sense that the truth is being drip-fed in pieces instead of addressed directly. Fever fans have reached a point where they'd rather hear hard, honest news than cling to empty optimism. They've lived through the disappointments, they've seen how long recoveries can really take, and they're no longer interested in holding their breath for updates that feel like they're built more to protect the team's image than to actually prepare the fans for what's coming. At this point, it's not just about what's being said, it's about what's being left unsaid. And Fever fans, who have proven to be some of the most loyal and engaged in the league, aren't falling for it this time. They want transparency, they want honesty, and most importantly, they want Caitlin Clark fully healthy, not rushed back to chase quick wins at the expense of her long-term future.